edition of the Daily Eye Show. I'm Salim Asgarally.
Hi, I'm Veenaa Bakshi.
And today we are going to talk about the great Indian family.
Which I think is a complete myth.
You think so? I don't think it's a myth. I think it was very much in existence and is still in existence.
When I say it's a myth, I don't mean as in the great Indian family is a myth, but this whole thing of this, we are this great Indian family who love each other, and my brother and my sister and my uncle and my aunt, that's a myth.
So are you trying to say that love is a myth?
Yes.
And so earlier there was the love and affection was there, and so we had the great Indian family, and now it's collapsed into nothing.
I wouldn't say it's collapsed into nothing, but I think right now there is more materialism, commercialism and consumerism that has come in behind a great Indian family, rather than, like for instance, there was a joint family.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, okay? I think most of us grew up in joint families.
Yeah.
Then they became nuclear families, where parents, children, end of story, servant, dog, cat, maybe.
Right.
Now we're going back to the joint families because it's convenient, Salim. Okay, you have children who are going to school and colleges and stuff. Okay, you have a maid in the house, you have a servant, but safety levels are also questioned. So what do? You bring in the grandparents. So the grandparents are not there because there's so much of love. Oh my God, I want my parents to live with me. But these are convenient babysitters.
Yeah, so what has happened is earlier people did live in nuclear families. You know that there was the grandfather, the grandmother, the next set of patriarchs and their progeny, which married, so their spouses, their children, uncles, aunties, all lived under one big, great, grand roof and called it the Great Indian Family. However, I think it's now economic hardships which has led people to break away from the traditional, what we used to see as the big Indian family, into a more nuclear family system. So economic hardship does drive people away, in the sense men might have to migrate, even women migrate in search of jobs and other employment. So today you have people who have not only moved away from villages, even from urban areas, have gone to other places like to the Gulf or even Southeast Asia to look for jobs. Now what happens is this family, where let's say one of the spouses, let's say the husband has gone to the Gulf. Now the wife is left to fend for herself along with her children. And if the remittances are not enough, then even the wife has to start working.
Yes.
So now you have a very different situation from what it used to be earlier. So yes, grandparents do come in. But according to experts, Veenaa, what is noted is that yes, the great Indian family or the Indian family system has led to a nuclear family, and the nuclear family has now again led to the what you call the joint family system, with a difference. Now the difference is what? The difference is this, that today you have different kinds of families. Okay, because you have step families, because men and women both remarry.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have step families on one side. You could have same-sex couple families. Of course, there are not so many, but there are, right? So on and so forth. If you look at it, what was considered to be this great conglomeration of kinship and friendship and family bonds, now due to economic hardships has disintegrated. Another thing, let me tell you, is the fragmentation of land.
Okay.
Which has been one of the big things that has really led to the disintegration of what was the grand big Indian family. Because the patriarch divides the land for his various sons, so everyone gets a small chunk of it. And then they move away and start their own families. And economic hardship then drives them to other things. So that's the way it goes.
See, there's something called the Hindu United Family Law that was made.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly which year, but the Hindu United Family Law, which was actually created so that the zamindari system, which then had people killing each other over land among families, was eliminated to a large extent, whereby you bought land, property, houses, whatever, under the Hindu United Family, under the HUF. So everybody technically had a share in that property.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was even considered. Now, there was a great fight that happened in courts over the rights of a daughter.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, I mean, in India, you know how it is, paraya dhan, shadi karo, bhej do, not ours, somebody else's. So the daughter, typically on the loss of a father, ended up losing her maternal property. So under the HUF, she also had a right to her father's property on the event of his or his inheritor, maybe his mother, her death. What I am wanting to come back to a little bit and speak about is this use of grandparents. Exactly as you said, is that in the joint family earlier there was the patriarch and the matriarch. Okay, so the family was guided by these senior people with their experience and stuff like that. Today, Salim, I see that a lot of the grandparents are there as just babysitters. Nobody wants their opinion. Okay, nobody wants their advice, because we know what we're doing. And nowadays things are different. So just look after the children. Okay, give them a sandwich when they come back from school. Take the homework if you know what's happening. And so therefore I say that the Great Indian Family is a myth.
The reason being, one of the factors that contributed to the Great Indian Family being a complete system by itself is the fact that the patriarch, as you were saying, the main head patriarch of the family, controlled the purse strings. Now the purse strings are not controlled by the head of the family, as let's say the grandfather, because everyone has employment of their own. Right, so they're earning for themselves, including women. And now, because women have stepped out over there and are working in both the organized and the unorganized sectors, which we call the feminization of the workforce, we see that the role of the grandparent has become a little redundant, other than, as you said, look after the children.
I think the patriarch of old has now become the breadwinner, as they call it. The term has changed. So it's an extremely ambiguous term, actually.
The other thing that one notices is the impact that the disintegration of the joint family system has had on children. Okay, earlier they definitely had a very strong support of their extended families which all live together. So now, since couples are veering towards just having a single child, there are also no-child couples who make a conscious decision that we do not want to have children. Which was never the case earlier. You know, people struggled to have children if they couldn't have them. But now things have changed, and we suddenly see that kids who come from homes which are kind of fragmented, mainly due to one of the spouses moving away for work. So they only have one parent now. Sometimes it is the father who's also playing the role of the mother. Like you see in the hospitality industry, you also see in the nursing industry, where it's the women folk only who are working. All the nurses mostly are female nurses. So they've actually come away from their families, and now that family is being looked after by the father. So children suddenly could be exposed to something like an extramarital affair that the father could be having. So extramarital affairs have become one of the reasons that the nuclear family system doesn't completely function as well as the joint family system.
I don't know whether I really agree with you on if a father was left alone to look after his child, that he's going to have
Not necessarily
going to have an extramarital affair, and therefore extramarital affair becomes this thing.
It's not a compulsion, but it has been noticed statistically.
But yeah, you do have a point. Is that this whole step family system, this whole single fathers, single mothers, there is everything. You know, the poor, they still live in joint families to a large extent because it's completely economic driven.
They try to, especially when we're talking about...
You have larger families, so you have more hands which are working, more people earning.
Which was precisely the reason that in the past, when we largely lived in the agrarian system, right, of functioning, it was considered that more hands to do the work. So let's have more children and let's keep everything under one roof because it is economically more convenient. As they say, economies of scale was probably the reason that they all came together. But all that has changed. So one, we are talking about the impact that it has on children in this day and age. The other thing which we were talking about is the poorer segments of society, which, like say the labor force that comes from rural areas to work into urban areas, where then they have to live in these shanties which are far way beyond the city. Yeah, so they create all these shanties and live over there. Now, if it is affordable for them to call their families into the city, then yes, you may even have a nuclear family happening over there. But as we look at it, largely in most big cities, when you see the migrant workers, they're not living with their families. So the families are still back in the village over there, living maybe with this other spouse and their parents.
See, this is with some kind of form of labor, Salim. Okay, where the whole family may not come. Yeah. That is road work and things like that.
Yeah.
There are some things, but even in terms of, like for instance, in terms of construction.
Yes.
Okay, in terms of construction, the whole family moves. And typically in a building that's been made, so it depends on what level the building is at. The family stays there. So you have initially the masonry and things like that. So what typically is seen is while the men are working in construction and building the building, the women find housework in the area, in the locality around.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are there because Indian construction easily takes about 2 to 3 years for one building to come up.
Even roads, for instance.
And even roads. So there, these shanties are created, which are a requirement of the contractor.
Correct.
And typically now, because you have stilt parking, or in the earlier days when you didn't have stilt parking, these little shanties used to be created in the compounds of buildings under construction. And babies were born there over 2 years, 3 years, whatever, children grew up. And the family came as a whole. And once the job was done, they either moved on to the next construction, or they went back to their village with the little bit of money that they had collected.
Yeah, because they have to build their home back.
And they built their home and they went back to, or they supplemented into the farming.
And a large part don't even go back.
A large part don't, because they move from they move from one job to another job, from one street, from one highway to another, from one construction to another.
Because let's face it, in rural India there is no employment. Besides the agrarian sector, they have to move out and they have to come out to the cities, which has largely led to complete disintegration of our family system. So we are seeing a new structure emerging.
Yeah, it's really sad, that government apathy has not helped a lot of these arts and crafts grow, and thereby creating, there was this the KVIC, the Khadi Village Industries Commission, which has remained at a very, very, it's remained plateaued. It hasn't really picked up. There was a time when it was picking up and things, and then, I don't know, some internal politics, I guess. If that was encouraged, in a really, in a very thought of, in a dedicated manner by the government, if that was encouraged, those arts and crafts, and there was a merging, like it has happened with certain places where people have taken a private interest.
Yes.
And like the Kutch, the embroidery industry.
Embroidery in the Kutch, the chicken workers in UP. Many other weavers in different parts of the country that you see.
Yes.
Are languishing because, they have not received enough patronage. They've not received enough business, and they don't want their children to suffer in the same manner as they did. Now, so they've started taking less pride in their work as well, because it's not being rewarded adequately.
And as a result, we are losing generations of craftsmen.
True.
Because the families are not taking that forward. They don't want their children to suffer.
Yeah.
So that is another breakup,
Also, I think in terms of legislation, when you look at it, in terms of ministries, a lot of emphasis has been placed, and I wouldn't say it's wrong, of course it's very much needed in this country, is the emphasis on mother and child care. Okay, a lot of initiatives have been made towards the health of the mother and the child, but nothing really has been done in terms of the larger family system that has to be addressed. So our family laws are still languishing under personal laws of various different sects, communities, religions. So the Parsis have their own laws. Yeah, the Hindus have their own laws.
Yes.
Muslims have their own laws. So if you really look at it, there are so many acts which give rights to people and families and decide on their situations in different ways. So yes, we are talking about a common civil code coming up over here, which might help to bring everything together in a more uniform way. So, even the triple talaq, which is now banned, as we know, has led to rights of women changing. So the minute the rights of women change and women get better rights, and the legal system is more supportive of their rights, it leads to a change in the family system as well, because now the woman is more in charge than she was earlier.
Yep.
So these are the things that we are seeing that I think I wouldn't be able to say everything is positive about it, because the joint family system had a lot of positives too.
One thing I feel as a woman, okay, is because you've criminalized the triple talaq, I feel women will start getting abandoned. And because it's easier then to abandon a woman without any divorce, in a legal manner, or rather than be criminalized and go to jail.
Yeah, but you know what you are talking about, Veenaa, it's going to be very difficult to try and find also, because if you really look at it, the divorce rates in the Muslim community are abysmally low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are we really talking about here? I would think it's much ado about nothing. But nonetheless, it's nice to say that, rights have been, greater powers and greater empowerment has been given to women, which is completely fine.
Yeah,
though, as we look at it and we know that men have been given a very raw deal in that banning of the triple talaq, where they can be imprisoned and then they still have to support their wives and families, and how are they going to do it sitting in jail?
I do not agree with this. The only reason is because I find it very one-sided. Okay, if you're doing this, I mean, this was done for Muslim women, so-called.
Yeah.
Why not some kind of a law which protects all women? When you're speaking of a lot of people, now this I know we're talking about women, but talking in family context, people talk about, Muslim women and their hijabs, they're all covered. No, hello. What about the parda system? Okay, the patriarch of a society, especially if you look at a semi-urban, semi-rural, rural kind of setup, and it happens even in cities.
Yes.
Okay, where the daughter-in-law especially is forced to wear this long ghungat, and walk. I mean, she can't show her face to anybody. My fear when I see lots of these girls walking in cities, sometimes it's bloody hell, she'll fall into a pothole.
Yeah.
She's not watching where she's going.
Do you think their children who are now in the cities, for instance, because the families, some of them do move to the cities, so they moved away from their agrarian rural setups to children who are now going to English medium schools, are going to continue with the ghungat and the other systems?
Yes.
So I think that's changing.
No, it doesn't.
But fact does remain that due to the breakup of the joint family system and economic hardships and the need for women to go out there and work separately and the men to also go out and there and work, has led to a lot of exploitation of women, especially in the unorganized sectors where construction is concerned, domestic help is concerned. There has led to exploitation. There has led to trafficking. So there are the bad sides of the breakup of the joint family system. But if you really look at it, Veenaa, when you're talking about it, how does our entertainment and media industry project this family system? When I look at television and I look at some of the serials that you see these days, based on the big Indian family, they are just propagating a myth which now does not exist any longer. And it's almost comical. When you look at it, it's almost comical, because you have these Banarasi sari-clad women who even sleep in full makeup, etc., etc. Very conniving mother-in-law, then there's a very conniving sister-in-law. Really, do we have the time for all this? Do Indian families really live that way? They don't. They are struggling to survive. They are working in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, each one trying to do their little bit to bring up their children. So why does the Indian television industry throw these stupid kind of things on people and let them imagine that this is the way India is and this is the way Indian families are? I would like to know.
Okay, I'm going to contradict everything that you said. What you're talking about, or what we generally see, or what we are exposed to, you and I, okay, are people of our type, in cities, in the kind of mahol, the kind of places that we live in.
You mean to say by our type, more urban?
You and me, completely
Let's
urban.
say urban people.
Very urban,
Yes.
not just urban, but very urban.
Yeah, because I'd like you to specify that our type.
You and I, Salim, belong to an extremely different thinking, an extremely different society. and by ourselves, we are freaks by ourselves.
In the eyes of many.
In the eyes of many.
Yeah.
Okay? But what Indian television does reflect is a large part of society which is tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Yes.
And in fact, it is crazy because art imitates life, life imitates art. So you have, when you go to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and you have women who are wearing bloody sindoor from year to year. I don't watch Indian television serials.
Nor do I. Sometimes I.
The reason I don't is because I know I can't survive beyond 5 minutes on that. Okay, I'm going to start getting restless exactly for the same reasons that you are saying.
Yes.
I'll want to throw something at TV saying, no, women aren't like that.
Yes.
But this myth is being perpetuated.
Do you even think that those serials are even aspirational?
I don't, it's not whether you think or I think. So I cannot
What
say.
do you think?
Right. Please, we love your feedback on this because this is turning into a debate between the two of us. So please give us your feedback on what do you think? Do you think you get impressed, you get influenced by the Indian serials and the Indian family?
And would you like to be living in that kind of a family that is created and portrayed on television?
Like for instance, if you notice, in the Hindi serials, nobody goes to work.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't go to work, period. Whether they talk of factories or they talk of mills or something, unless it's got to do with offices, then there's an office that's
And it's a family business
yeah. But nobody goes to office, nobody goes to work.
Yes.
Nobody goes to school.
Yes.
No one goes to college.
Yes. And they're all dressed
And they're all dressed, 24/7, and they all sit around a dining table. The most important property in a Hindi TV serial, as far as I'm concerned, is a dining table.
What happened to the thali system and where everyone sat on the ground and ate, which is
Are you crazy? The
how
saris will get... अरे कैमरा एंगल नहीं मिलेगा यार ग्राउंड पे बैठेंगे तो टेबल पे बैठना है because कैमरा एंगल मिलेगा. Come on.
So are we looking at television also as trying to westernize culture, Indian culture, at the same time giving it a very Indian face?
You know, even the westernization of Indian culture as far as Indian television is concerned is wrong, Salim. If you look at it, if you watch some of these programs, when you see the women who are the western women, they're the bad guys.
Yes,
okay.
mostly.
The women who wear sleeveless blouses with low-cut V fronts and are walking around like with their hands in the air and with no tika and all that stuff. These are bad women. So you're absolutely right. Indian television has been a curse to the Indian family.
I would think so.
Where you actually get people to believe that you have a sweet, pretty babu who falls in line. She's the right one.
Yes.
A woman with a mind of her own.
Yes.
Okay.
But then there are also what they call female-led families, which is still in existence.
Yes.
Female-led families, especially where the husband has maybe died, or he is gone somewhere else to work, or he's taken on another wife, and then this woman is left to fend for the whole family, and she brings up the whole family. So you actually have these female-led families.
Yes.
And portrayals of such kind of families would make more sense and would be closer to reality and would be more inspirational for people in the sense, yes, there are others like us who also have contributed positively both to their families and to society.
I have a point to add over here. I'm not sure whether... But anyway, we're going to discuss it. I think a lot of the creative of Indian television today is very politically driven.
Absolutely.
It is to Hinduize families and to let families know that you are the right family if you follow this path.
So the word for that is sanskari.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is about sanskari. How sanskar is supposed to dominate and rule over every decision that you make. From there, we see how the Indian marriage or the big Indian wedding happens from the great grand Indian joint family system. Yeah. So you suddenly have now a function or an event for every wedding, which is called the Sangeet. Now, yes, the Sangeet did involve sitting with a dholki and, women dancing and singing just before the wedding. But today, it's something else. You have complete choreographed sequences.
It's an event.
Where groups of family members come and perform. So, it's entertaining, it's nice. But it's a complete takeoff from reality. So somewhere reality and how it's portrayed have come together.
Not just that, what films have managed to do to the great Indian family is shift customs, which I would say on one hand is nice, on one hand is what the hell. Okay? One, I would say it's nice because customs have shifted in families. Like for instance, Sangeet is a very North Indian concept.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so families in North India had a thing called the Sangeet because there was a meaning to that Sangeet.
Yes.
Women came together.
Yes.
Okay? It was only women. So women came together in the family where they danced and they sang and they celebrated the wedding. Men weren't involved. Today, like you rightly said, it's a party.
Yeah.
This Sangeet has now moved into areas of other communities in other states. So you have a Tamilian wedding, okay, which will have a Sangeet night.
Of course.
Which actually is a cocktail party. You know, and then like what you said, you have these whole choreographed groups of families and mama, papa and all doing a little
with a choreographer and a stylist and everything put together.
Like Mehndi.
Yeah.
Okay. Mehndi was never really a below the Tropic of Cancer concept. Okay, there were certain other things that happened. There was one haldi ka rasam, and then there were some pujas and all that stuff. Now Mehndi has become an intrinsic part of the great Indian wedding.
Yes.
Okay, and which I think is great fun.
I think it's great fun. It's lovely. But what we are also looking at here, Veenaa, if we look at it, is yes, the entire joint family system function as a complete security net.
Yes, it is.
For all the family members. And as opposed to what we have seen, how families are structured in the West for a long time now, and how they have been living, where they do not really have a security net. So what has happened now that security net has unfortunately disappeared with the disintegration of the family system. So tomorrow if something were to happen to you or me, either economically, health-wise, or any other reasons, you won't have a whole family rallying around you and supporting you and seeing that you go through it. You will be on your own, which is one of the worst things about a nuclear family, because extended family has then to be brought together to support this thing, where your WhatsApp groups also come in to say that, oh, so-and-so is now not well and we need to go to the hospital, and who's going to stay the night?
Salim, that's why the thing, now today what's happened is that most of us depend on our friends.
Friends have become family.
Yes, friends have become family.
So there's this hashtag called friends like family.
Yeah, but friends have actually become family because who's your first call, your port of call when you're not well are your friends. When I had an incident, a health incident 2 years ago and had to be admitted to a hospital, who were the people who rushed? Friends. Family came later. Relatives rather came later. So friends have become family. So that whole dynamics, when we're talking about nuclear family or joint family, I think the whole dynamics and meaning of family has shifted and now it's become friends.
Yeah.
So our first port of call is friends.
So what happens to, let's say, a family where the parents, let's say they were refugees. Let's say they came into India for economic reasons, have been living here for the last 20, 30 years, have had children who are born in this country. So now you're going to give citizenship to the children, or will you not also? Even though they are born in this country, that's going against international laws and rights, by the way, because you're entitled to get citizenship if you're born in a particular country. So what happens to the children, and then what happens to the parents? Are they going to be sent away while the children will live over here?
You know, that is a huge question mark, is what are you going to do with those who you have denied citizenship?
I don't understand why is there this attitude of wanting to run before you can walk, or leaping before you look. I don't believe in borders. I don't believe in countries. I think there should be a borderless world, and we all belong to this planet, and we are all equally entitled to live anywhere that we like in the world. The entire planet is yours. Who is anyone to make these fiefdoms, to say this is my country, this is our flag, this is the way we are, and this is how, and we shall not allow anyone to enter here. This is gundagardi.
Of course it is.
Sorry, it is gundagardi.
On that note,
we come to an end of this episode and also this season. And we are going to come back really soon.
In another 3 weeks, with a new format, new episodes, waiting for you to come back to us. The Daily Eye Show.
The Daily Eye Show.